By the end of Ash's time in the anime, he became a world champion, the strongest trainer on the planet, taking down countless other powerhouses to get there, the likes of Steven, Cynthia and Leon. But he did not beat everyone. There are certain trainers that Ash could never beat. Despite now being world champ, he never got them specific rematches against old rivals, other champions and straight up cheat code trainers. I think the most famous hurdle that Ash could never get over was Alan. They did battle a fair few times before their clash at the league and Ash could just never beat him. It was seemingly setting everything up for that final league clash where Ash would finally get that fat W, but he never did, and we all know how outraged fans were over this. The furthest Ash has ever gotten at a Pokemon League, all the way to the finals. Surely it was his time, right? Well, no, Alan was just too strong, and I don't really mind this result personally. Alan was a well written and fleshed out character. He had the story and progression to back up the giant strides he made in battle, so it was a fair victory. However, what wasn't fair was bringing this dude back in Pokemon Journeys for absolutely no reason. They brought Alan back to be a member of the illustrious Masters A, only for him to get drawn against Leon and humiliated. He mega evolved his Charizard only for it to get blitzed in like 2 minutes. It was such a wasted opportunity to let us have that rematch with Ash that many fans wanted. Instead, we got Ash versus Steven, which sure, that's cool, but I don't think anyone asked for this or wanted this. It paid off a really old line from the advanced generation, but I don't think they even were thinking about that. Heck, I would have preferred a Ash versus Lance battle than Steven. But Ash had to battle Alan here. That was his whole purpose for even returning. It kind of makes his return redundant, other than to give us a cool Charizard versus Charizard clash and the return of Mega Charizard X. But because of this writing decision, Alan remains one of them few trainers Ash could never beat. But from a well-written character to a not so well-written one. Many call this man a cheater. I say maybe the Sinnoh League should be enforcing a no legendaries rule. But either way, Ash could never beat Tobias. Until Alan, this was the man that everyone shouted to return. Everyone wanted to see this shameless guy taken down, bringing not just one but 2 legendaries to the battle with Ash, a Darkrai and a Latios. I have to say, I don't hate him as much as most. I think the whole point of Diamond and Pearl was not to have Ash win the league, but it was his rivalry with Paul. And after beating Paul, they didn't really set anyone else up for Ash to lose to, so they had to come up with a new idea. This time the likes of Harrison or a Tyson wasn't going to cut it, as Ash in Sinnoh was stronger. So in comes Tobias, and I do just like the aura of this man. He was aura farming throughout this whole tournament. We hear everyone quaking in fear of his name. The mysterious man who has taken down all 8 gyms and his first few league rounds using only a Darkrai. It was funny seeing how Barry was just going crazy researching him. So I do actually like the idea of him. I remember being there when these episodes were airing and we were slowly getting teased this guy in the background each week, but I understand the frustration of this random bloke who has 2 legendaries, very OP, entering out of nowhere and beating Ash, and then just leaving never to be seen again. Clearly the writers regretted bringing him in as he just never shows up, as much as fans wanted him to. But I have to say the battle itself, Ash versus Tobias, is actually one of my favourites. It just has some great action. We have Ash using all of his old Pokemon, some of my personal favourites like Swellow and Sceptile, going up against damn legendaries. Sceptile getting a fantastic moment taking down Darkrai, showing why he is the GOAT, and Pikachu a mid-air Volt tackle to collide with Latios. Ash flipping the hat for the first time since the original series. It was a great time, but a weird one too. Tobias overall is just a anomaly in the Pokemon world and never heard of again, swept under the rug, and remained a trainer that Ash could never overcome. Who knows if world champ Ash would even beat him? The dude might have more legends. Another trainer that Ash could never beat was Richie. Granted, they did only battle once, so I'm sure if they ever did battle again, Ash probably would have wiped the floor with him. But it was a huge shame. Richie was the first real big defeat for Ash, showing that he needs to train more, he needs to earn the respect of his Charizard and be better. And of course Ash went on to take them lessons in and become a worthy trainer. But we didn't get that rematch. It would have been so poetic if Richie came back in the Johto League, and before Ash battled Gary we could have got the revenge for his loss in the Indigo League. with a now obedient Charizard, showing Richie how far they've came. And what is worse, that they had it all right there. Richie returned in the final season of Johto. He was in Master Quest and in the opening. Why didn't he compete in the league or at least battle Ash again once? Just one of Johto's many mysteries. We saw Richie again in Journeys, weirdly watching the battle between Lance and Diantha, probably just a Kanto nod to Lance, but because of all this, Ash never beat Richie, which is a massive shame. So I could sit and tell you about how Ash never beat Harrison, Tyson or Cameron, but let's be honest, these guys are kind of bums. They aren't really strong trainers worth mentioning. I guess Harrison has a dope as hell Blaziken and pushed Ash to his limit. Tyson with his Meowth boots, somehow beating Ash and Pikachu. And then Cameron, we don't really talk about Cameron. Obviously Ash never beat any of these bozos, but they aren't really rematches we ever needed or wanted. They were just one-off characters. Although shout outs to Harrison, I do actually like his character more than the others. He comes in and shows off a sick Blaziken and teases the best region Hoenn, so respect to him. In the world of champions and Elite Four members, there is a lot of trainers that Ash didn't beat, and definitely some notable missed opportunities. I really liked the idea of Ash getting a rematch against Hoenn Elite Four member Drake. He showed up at a point in Hoenn where Ash was getting way too cocky, way too full of himself, and he completely humbled him. So for Ash to get that rematch and show how far he's come since then, learning from them lessons, could have been a great moment. But that could be said for a lot of trainers. I could make the exact same argument for him to have battled Lorelei again. But hey, at least we didn't waste a whole off-screen battle with Ash and Wallace, right? Arguments could also be made for a lot of the champions that Ash should have beat. He did take down Steven, Cynthia and Leon, 3 champions on his run to become world champion himself, and then Drasna just before, so it was a pretty insane run. But I feel like they really missed a trick. For me, Steven Stone made no sense. We should have had Lance, a member of the Kanto Elite Four and then the Johto champion. Lance was the OG, the iconic champion, the first champion Ash ever met. Someone he bumped into in Johto and in Hoenn, and then again in Journeys. Ash vs Lance is a battle that we should have seen, and I'm very surprised that we didn't get that in the Masters 8. I remember my predictions were Ash would beat Lance in the quarterfinals and then go on to take down Alan in the semis, leaving a mouth-watering clash between Leon and Cynthia. But Ash vs Lance was the one we needed. It just would have made a lot of sense, and way more sense than Steven in my opinion. And lastly, the Kalos champion herself, Diantha. I would have liked this one as well. Any champions that had a lot of history with Ash and story to tie in would make sense. Diantha of course battled Ash before, with Ash showing her the Ash Greninja form, and Ash actually coming close against her, so that would have been a juicy matchup. But there are so many trainers we could have seen Ash beat. These here are definitely some of my favourites, but I'd love to hear yours as well. Who do you wish Ash could have taken down?